Tribe Builders. This is Tanya Rooney coming to you from St. Paul, Minnesota, and I have a really special guest today that I'm really excited to introduce you guys to. So I met this person probably about a month ago when we decided to do a podcast. I guess I was on his podcast. We talked all kinds of real estate stuff, which is always my favorite people. I found out a ton of things about Rodman after the fact and realized he has like one of the coolest communities. He has a lot of really cool things he's done over the last 10, 15 years, and decided to have him on the show today. So I'm super excited to introduce you to Rodman Schley.
Schley, you nailed it.
Oh
I
God,
knew
we're
you'd
so
get
close.
it.
I even wrote it down and I still got it in my head. So, okay,
It's
Rodman,
a tough one.
hi. How are you doing today?
I'm really good. Thanks for having me on today.
No, thank you for taking the time. I appreciate anybody that gives me time like this. It's so cool. So, can you start out with telling me about like the company you built? Tell me like what you do. Why are you so awesome?
Why am I so awesome? Well, I've never been asked it that way before, but that's kind of cool. I like it that way. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done so many different businesses in the past, and primarily though, I've always been in real estate. That's kind of how you and I connected, and we talked a lot about what we're doing now in real estate. But I've built a lot of businesses over my career, about 25 of them, bought and sold all over the board, different types of things, different types of businesses, working with different communities, different types of people. So it's been a really wonderful journey. Honestly, it's been almost, looking back, I was almost doing too many things. I was pretty average at a lot of things instead of being exceptional at just a few. And that is how entrepreneurs roll a lot. But right now, I'm the CEO of Blue Fusion Capital, which we invest in short-term vacation rental properties all over the world. Right now, we're doing a lot of our stuff down in Costa Rica, which I absolutely love. I love Costa Rica. And I've also got a couple books out. I got Vacation Property Secrets out right now, which is all about buying vacation homes. And then my latest book is called The Outlier Mindset. And that's just about operating outside of that big bell curve, kind of operating on the fringes, hopefully the right fringes. The left fringes are not our good folks, but the right fringes, and being exceptional at what we do.
Oh, that's awesome. Can you tell me more about the outlier mindset? Like in the fact that when did this book come out, and who were you writing it for when you started writing it?
Yeah, when I wrote the book, it came out in about April, and you can get it on Amazon. It's a great book. It's a lot about entrepreneurship. So when I wrote it, it was for the entrepreneur. And the outlier mindset, it doesn't necessarily always just apply to the entrepreneur. It could be somebody who's sitting in that job, maybe doing something they don't want to be doing. But I always tell people, if you're going to be exceptional, number one, you got to align yourself with what you love in life, what you really care about, what you're passionate about, what you love doing. And entrepreneurs do that. They build that life by design, right? They go out and say, I love doing this. I love being this. I love when I go out and I can help people do these things. And then they start aligning their life with that, if they want to be an outlier. Of course, there's always those people who put maybe their profit first. If you put profit before purpose, it's hard to get out of the middle of that curve. It's hard to be exceptional because you're not leading with heart, you're leading with money. And I did that for a lot of years. And that's one of the reasons I wrote this book, is because when I wanted to reach out to people and help them avoid to make those same mistakes that I made early on, when I had 14 companies going at once, and I really only loved 2 of them, And so again, how are you going to be exceptional at anything that maybe is not true to your heart, or is not aligned with who you are, or what you're passionate about, or what you care about, or what you want to do in the world? Because we're set up to serve people, and we're successful as entrepreneurs when we are truly serving. And if you're serving, you're best set up to serve the person that you once were. The person that you are, the person that you are in here, and taking that information and sharing it with the world. So the outlier mindset was just one of those pieces of work that I wanted to put into the world to say, hey, don't make some of these mistakes that I made. If you want to be exceptional, here's how you do it.
This is amazing, and you're probably on the podcast right now, literally to give me the messages that you're saying. Like I'm your avatar right now, because how on earth did you have 14 companies going at once, and only actually like 2 of them? Like, what kinds of companies were they? Were they at least like synergistic in the fact that they all kind of like had something to do with real estate, or what kinds of companies were these?
No, they weren't all synergistic.
Oh
That was the problem. And I mean, here's the
Okay.
thing, is an entrepreneur has a hard time saying no.
hmm
We have a hard time saying no. We see an opportunity, we want to say yes. We see an opportunity, we want to say yes. But the problem is what we're not good at is saying, hey, this does not align with me. this isn't who I am. No. And so for me, it was one of those processes of going through and really doing some soul searching to say, okay, Robin, what's meaningful to you? And I have what I call my sacred check boxes. So I've got 4 things in my life that if it does not check those boxes, it's out. I don't even, I never say yes to it. It's a hard no. It's a hard pass.
Really? What are okay, I mean, I have to know, like, what are the 4? This is crazy. It's amazing when people can figure this stuff out.
Well, it's so easy. Well, I don't want to say it's easy because you still have to do the
Uh-huh.
work. You still have to go deep and do the
Of
soul
course.
searching, kind of find out what's important to you. But
Mhm.
for me, I'm kind of at that point in life where number one, I wanted to teach. So I
Mhm.
wanted to be able to come in. I wanted to be able to teach people how to do things a certain way or not do things a certain way because both are very valuable. I
Mhm.
wanted to inspire. I wanted to be able to get out into the community, teach these things and inspire people to shave time off of their learning curves. Like if I knew this information when I was going through it, I probably could have saved myself 10 years,
Mhm.
right? So how can I
Yeah.
inspire people to evolve exponentially in their life by doing things, getting this learning done up front? So it's teach, inspire. I love investing in real estate. I've always
Awesome.
been a real estate guy. I've been in real estate since I was 18 years old. I used to buy and flip my way through college. So I wanted to make sure that
Awesome.
when I came through, I wanted to still invest in real estate because it's always been kind of my bread and butter and what I love doing. And then the last thing is I love to travel. Okay. So what did I do? So I've got a mastermind that teaches people how to buy short-term vacation properties because I can teach people take that time off of their learning curve so they can come in, learn how to do it, learn how to be effective, take what would have taken them 5 years to figure out and get it done in one, right?
That's
And that's where I
awesome.
can also get on the stages and inspire and get onto the podcast like we're on now and inspire people to move forward and be better. And then I set up a private equity company that I could invest in real estate. And what did I choose? Well, I chose short-term vacation rentals because my 4th box is travel. So
Yes.
I call that the life by design, right? You need to design your life around you, who you are, what you want to be, because it's like this. Life is a blip. And you're here today and you're gone tomorrow. Even I'm looking on this podcast, looking at me on the screen, go, oh my God, where these wrinkles come from? And yesterday I was this young kid, looking to get married and have kids. And now my kids are in college and I've got wrinkles. And the next thing you know, I'm going to be a grandparent. And then I'm going to be that next generation and not be here, right? So do what you want to do right now, but align your life with that. Build your life by your own design.
Yeah. This is fantastic. I love that. I love it so much because it takes a lot. I feel like I'm a younger entrepreneur, it's only been like 7 years. So like it takes me, I'm in the grind of trying to figure out like what does that need to look like? Because I've done some lifestyle design stuff, but it doesn't mean like it evolves so intensely the first few years because you're like, well, what should I do next? And where do I actually want to hang out? And then you realize all the people that you want to hang out with, like you could do all these really cool things, but all the people you want to hang out with have jobs. So you like have nobody to hang out with. So now you're like, oh, now we have to figure out what does the new lifestyle design look like? Or you evolve and have friends that you go places with.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah, because what
I
you
love
aren't
that.
right now doesn't mean is what you're going to be in 5 years.
Nope,
I
not at
love
all.
my check boxes now, but maybe one's going to
Mhm.
go away next year, or maybe one's going to get added next year. You're always
Mhm.
evolving. That's the beautiful thing about life. I mean, if we were not evolving and being stagnant, what good would that be? That's no fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that. So, can you tell me a little bit more? So you told me a little bit about the outlier mindset. It sounds like there's principles in there that you like to talk about. Like, tell me, the Cliff Notes version of what's the outlier mindset.
Well,
Does that make
so there's
sense?
there's 7 tenets. I won't go into them in order, and it would take me a little bit to go into all of them. So we won't go through
It's
all.
okay.
But the one thing I always tell people when it comes to being an outlier is you got to do the work, right?
Mhm.
So many people are looking to get rich quick or to get there fast or to get things. That's the society we live in. We're in this
Mhm.
TikTok phase of swipe, 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 swipe. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, when it comes to being an entrepreneur and life and business, it's not like that. You've got to be willing to take that step back and be willing to
Mhm.
do that work and go, you know what? I can settle for get rich slow. Or I can settle for, you know what? Maybe I only want to work 3 days a week. And if I can supplement my income to handle that kind of lifestyle, great. But it's not about the money because, at the end of the day, when you think about the work that you're doing, none of this stuff's going to matter. I look around and somebody else is going to be living in this house. I've got this beautiful house. We live on a flower farm in Colorado. Somebody else eventually is going to live in this house and own this property. That's not going to be me. All this furniture, all this stuff that I have, it's going to end up in antique stores. It's going to end up in somebody else's hands. It just doesn't matter. That car you drive is going to end up in a scrap heap. I'll tell you what, the guy who bought the most beautiful car back in the 1960s and was driving around town feeling pretty great about himself, that car's sitting in a scrap pile somewhere. It just doesn't matter. What matters is this, but you got to be able to do that work. You got to get up every day and do the work because you love it. Do the work because it's meaningful to you. Do the work because you're serving. And that's the other thing that I tell people as an ally. You got to serve others. I always lead with service. You'll never hear me come in to you or anybody else and say, what can you do for me? I always lead with, what can I do for you? And I don't expect anything back, but how can I give into you? How can I feed into who you are? How can I lift you up? And so many people come into relationships and they want to take. What can I take from this relationship? What can I get from this relationship? What can they give me? And those people you want to execute out of your life. Execute is such a tough word. Let's say that you want to eliminate. You want to eliminate. You don't want to execute them. You want to eliminate them.
Okay.
But you want to get them out of your life because that's the other things we talk about. Tribe. Tribe is one of the big things as an outlier. Who you put into your life matters. And it matters significantly in your journey because it's going to have such an impact on who you are, whether you know it or not. Whether you're getting up and consciously thinking about what that person's doing to impact you makes a big difference. So those people that you surround yourself with, those people that you bring into your life, that you embrace, you can be quick to bring people in, but also be quick to push people out.
Yeah.
Because you'll know really quickly if they're coming in with service or they're coming in to just take and take and take. And not just take, physical things, take from you emotionally. And so it's really important to make sure that you're getting the right people into your life. So those are three of the things. And I think, when you're talking about your tribe and what you're doing, I think that's probably the most relevant piece of the book to what you're teaching here, which is awesome.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. Like I mean, this is stuff that I live and breathe, and it's just because I've seen how important it is in people's businesses. Like you can do a lot of things solo. There are tons of people that do this and they can grind and they don't need anybody around them, but it is so much easier to live life with other people because that's the we're human beings. We're meant to live with other people and be around people. And the kinds of stuff that you can solve by having another mind, like I love being able to collaborate with other people because I don't know the best way to do everything, but I know that I could get 10 people to tell me the best way they do something, and then I could morph it into the version that I want to do. Or I could do that with one other person or two other people. Like when I have a hard time in real estate, like real estate's not easy. Like whoever tells you it's easy is absolutely lying to you, or they're not actually doing it. Because that's like literally it. Because there's a lot of hard days, and I think having people in your circle I just think it's so important because yeah, it's not, and it's just lonely. Otherwise, it's lonely to do everything
Yes.
yourself. It's
It's
not fun.
100% lonely. And there are a lot of lonely entrepreneurs out there, right?
Mhm.
That are
There
putting
are.
themselves on an island and they're saying, I don't need the help. I can do it myself. I don't trust. I'm not going to open myself up to others. And they're going to be average. They're not going to be an outlier because if you're truly going to be exceptional,
Hmm.
truly be exceptional, you had to have a tribe of people around you.
Yeah. Okay, Rodman, tell me how have you built yours? Because you have a pretty big tribe. You had 14 businesses. Clearly you know some people because you have to. Tell me like what kinds of things do you tell people on how to figure this out?
People always ask me, it's my kids especially, it's funny, but they always go, Dad, how do you get these people into your life? Because I've got incredible people in my life. I mean, I always get up every day and
Hmm.
it's just a blessing, right?
Hmm.
Good people in your life is a blessing. And,
Yeah.
they see a lot of really kind of some big names and such too that are just in my life, but you'll draw in the energy that you're putting out. So if you're putting out the negative energy, if you're putting out the poor me energy, if you're whatever that energy might be, wherever you are energetically, That's the type of person who's going to come over to you. That's the person who's going to come into your realm, you know? But if you're full of that positive energy, if you're that person who loves life, who's out there doing things, who's really making as much change in the world as you can, those people are going to start coming to you because they're going to go, you know what? This person, I love the energy that they're putting off. It's energy that I'm putting off. Now, you can attract some of the wrong people. People who are very giving, like people who lead with service and lead with other people in mind, can also get taken advantage of. Because if somebody sees a giver, there's always a taker right there to go, well, I'll take what they're giving. But you got to be really careful with that. That's why you want to, get rid of those folks as quickly as they come in, because they're very easy to identify.
Yeah.
Somebody who's trying to take from you all the time is easy to identify. So I always tell people, lead with your energy. Whatever you want in your life, lead with that into the world. Lead with that energy, and then be quick to bring people in, but also be quick to say, nope, you're the wrong person to be in here. Because I will tell you, one bad person or one wrong person can change the entire energy of you and your tribe. I've seen it. I've seen it in big organizations, and I call it a cancer. When you get that one wrong person in there who is a cancer to the organization, that spreads too, right? So you want to make sure that when those people come in, you can really be good at identifying them. And then once you've identified them, just saying no to them and moving them out as quickly as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really, really good, because I talk to people about that all the time. Is like, you need to care. Like, if this person is only like they're calling you every day, and all they're doing is bitching and moaning about something that's going on, that's the energy that's coming in. Like, that's how you feel. You feel mopey the way that they do, or you feel anxious the way that they do. And I think noticing that kind of energy, like, that's important. It's really important to notice that, and then to start building the skill. You got to build the muscle of, nope, arm's length. This person, if they're a family member, you don't have to talk to them every day. You can talk to them once a month, or you can get it down to 4 times a year or twice a year. It's something really important that I've noticed that I have to actually care about in my adult life.
Yeah, well, they're toxic. They're toxic
Hmm.
people, and there's a lot of them out there. There are a lot of
Hmm.
toxic people out there, but again, you just got to be good at identifying them and then figuring out, okay, is this person good for me or is this person bad for me? And the thing about a toxic person, there are the people too who are the poor me, the martyrs, the ones that are looking for a shoulder to constantly be crying on.
Hmm.
And the unfortunate thing is, when you're a giver, when you're somebody who's leading with service, or you're that energy, that good thing, a lot of those folks are drawn into that because they feel like they can get your sympathy, or they can get your, compassion is maybe not the right word, because compassion is actually a good thing, but not when it's going to
Being
somebody who's in
taken
that
advantage
martyr
of.
mode, right? So
Hmm.
you got to make sure that
Absolutely.
you're identifying that too, and going, you know what? I can't feed into that person, because this is all they're looking for, is that's feeding the martyr in them. And I see a lot of that too. And that's not good, because that energy will constantly just suck you dry of your positive energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, can you tell me a little bit about the community that you've built? Like, it sounds like a lot of it has to do with outlier mindset. Like, what does that look like? Is there actually people in a paid mastermind? Is it a Facebook group? Do you guys talk in real life? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, my paid mastermind is for short-term vacation rentals. So
Okay.
I'm teaching people how to do that. That's what I love to do. That's what I love to
Hmm.
teach. One of the fundamentals. I just have free resources for people on the outlier mindset. I'm an entrepreneur, and for me, it's important. Again, how can I lift up my entrepreneurship community, other entrepreneurs, particularly people who are going through it? Like I was saying earlier, it's kind of like with all those companies. I built all those companies, and then I got to a place and I said, what am I doing? I wasn't aligned. I wasn't feeling right. But it took me 5 years to unweave those webs, to sell those companies, to move them out. 5 years. So between building them and then unweaving the web, it was probably 10 to 15 years, right? So now for me, it's important to go, hey, entrepreneurs. And I love entrepreneurs, by the way. I mean, like, literally, I love the word. I love the people. I love who they are. I love what they do.
Hmm.
Truly, they inspire me every single day. For me, it was about, what can I give back to that community that has been such a big part of my life? And that's what the outlier mindset is. So if, when people come to my website, it's gorodman.com. And by the way, it's gorodman.com because like you had trouble pronouncing my name in the beginning, right? So
Huh?
because nobody can pronounce or spell my last name. So it's really tough. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go gorodman.com. You can't miss that one. But there's just all kinds of free resources and free tools in there where people can come and, learn about being an outlier.
Mm, that's awesome. And can you tell me if there's so I like to put a spotlight on these random things that happen when we build our communities. So like I have a bigger community now, and I like to connect people within the community because I don't know everything, which is fantastic. So when I know somebody that really, really knows this one piece of real estate, and then I know another person that's looking for that, I try to connect them.
Mm.
Has there been any really cool connections that were super unexpected that have happened in your community that you've recognized?
Oh, well, I can tell you a quick story about an incredible
Mhm.
connection of leading with service.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the things that I experienced now, this happened during COVID, and I usually do about 4 to 5 miles a day, and I like to put in a podcast when I'm doing my exercise. And I was listening to the School of Greatness. I don't know if you know the School of Greatness. It's Lewis Howes, a great podcast for any of you who have not listened to it. Lewis is doing really, really big things in the world. He's an incredible person with an incredible spirit. So I like to listen to his stuff in the morning. And I was on my walk, and I heard this little thing in my ear that made me think that he didn't have distribution on this documentary that he had produced. And it was a good documentary about kind of his life and what he had been through. And, I had some TV connections in that. So I wasn't sure though. So I reached out to his community and I said, hey, I heard this on the podcast today. I don't know if I heard it right, but, is Lewis looking for distribution for his documentary for the School of Greatness? And about an hour later, I got a call back from Lewis's COO saying, we are. And so, I've got my television show on PBS, my wife and I do, called Urban Conversion. And so I've got a lot of contacts there. And so I reached out to my folks at American Public Television and said, hey, I got the person who I think could really be the next Wayne Dyer. Somebody who, when we lost the great Wayne Dyer, it was a big hole and a big void. And I said, this person I think would be exceptional, in this platform. And so we made some arrangements, and the next thing you know, his documentary was airing nationally on PBS, and his podcast started airing as a series, also nationally on PBS. And so that whole community, since I led with such service, that community has given me back so much. I mean, it's been one of those things where the people are incredible. They feed me. They feed me emotionally. They don't feed me, but they feed me emotionally. And it's been such a wonderful journey. But if number one, if I just heard that little thing and then did nothing about it, that wouldn't have become a part of my tribe. Or if I led with saying, well, I've got this, what can you do for me? That wouldn't have ended up being a part of who I am and part of my tribe also, right?
Yeah.
So it's truly getting up, really hearing what people are needing, what people really need, and then helping them do that without expecting a thing in return. Because you'll still get filled up more than you can possibly handle on the inside. But that's not why you lead. That's not why you serve. You selfishly serve. And then life feeds you like no other.
Mhm. Oh, this is so fantastic because these are the kinds of connections that I get excited about. It's like when someone says, hey, I need more people on my podcast, and this is the specific person I'm looking for to be a guest. And I love I sent 5 of them today because
Mm.
people like I have got friends that need people on their podcast, and I know a lot of people that would be a great fit. And I don't even think about getting anything out of it. I don't care. Like I'm excited for someone else to be excited to have a new guest and to have a new connection. And, it's just when you start hearing somebody talk and you just know the perfect person that they need to start talking to because they
Yeah.
would be such a great, like who knows what would come out of it? Business partnerships or, money being lent in real estate or like, a deal, like any of this stuff. It's so fun. So I love that story. That's so fantastic. And how fun when you get to be like, yeah, I totally have this connection. It's not that big of a deal. Like it didn't even take you that much to probably make those connections, Like it's a
No.
2-minute email or it's like a phone call that might take 5 minutes. Like That's so cool.
Oh, and the problem is those people hang on to their stuff. They're like
Hmm.
hoarders at times. They've got the
Hmm.
connections or they got the this or that, and they're holding on to it like this, not thinking about what an abundant world we live in. So they're like this and like this and like this.
Yeah.
But the second that you start to open it up and say, "Hey, yeah, I'm going to lift you up." Well, if you're lifting people up, we all rise up,
Yep. All boats rise. Yep.
right? And the
It's
people
so
that are
good.
like this are anchors that are just
Mhm.
pulling them down to the bottom of the ocean. And so, for me, it's just kind of like, you know what? If I've got an opportunity or if I got a contact or if whatever it might be, I'm going to
Mhm.
share it because I'm going to help somebody else out. And I'm going to help this person out. I'm going to help this person out. And at the end of the day, we're both going to be very happy. We're all going to be happy because I will have helped two people that I love lift themselves up and I will go with them.
I love it. I just love it so much. Okay, you are a pretty positive person. It seems like I don't know you super well, but clearly you have an energy about you. Can you tell me though, do you have self-limiting beliefs? Like you've had a lot of businesses, and I feel like business owners have a lot of self-limiting beliefs. We just deal with them differently. Do you have any of them?
No, of course not.
You're a liar.
Every
I know.
single person has those types of beliefs, and if they tell you they don't,
Mhm.
they're a liar. And I
I
don't care.
know.
I don't care what level you're on. I don't care
Mhm.
what. I mean, I've got the most incredible people who are operating at this phase in life. They're so doing incredible things, but they
Yeah.
still have those beliefs, right? They're still like got the imposter syndrome. Like, I don't deserve this, or I'm not good enough for this, or why will people believe in me, or why should I be teaching? Or, I mean, there are so many things that constantly go through our brains. That's how
Mhm.
we're wired that way. It's something that is natural, is normal to have those beliefs. And
Mhm.
the thing is how do you counteract them? How do
Yeah.
you go in and how do you say, no, no, that's wrong. There will be
Mhm.
some days where I might be just devastated because somehow I've let my brain talk me into saying, man, you are getting a little wrinkly. Maybe you shouldn't be going on camera. What are these jowls that you're starting to get at your age? Nobody's going to like those jowls. Or whatever it might be, you start to talk to yourself and then you start talking yourself down, down, down. But you
Mhm.
got to know how to talk yourself back up. You got
Mhm.
to know how to go, you know what? That's bull crap. I am worth that. It doesn't matter what my container looks like. It doesn't matter, what all that matters is what I'm giving and what I'm putting into people and what I'm teaching people and such. But so many people talk themselves out of greatness.
Yeah.
And that is a sad, sad thing
Mhm.
when you start talking yourself out of being the best version of yourself. Because the brain will tell you every reason why you can't, but you got to be stronger than those signals that are going through there and start telling it every reason that you can. And that's when you're going to break through and find the greatness.
How do you do it? Like you're literally just talking yourself into it? Do you have any tactics of realizing when you're getting down to that level? Like I would just call that a low frequency. So when you get to this low frequency, how do you pump yourself up? Do you like reach out to people? Do you actually have a list of great things? Do you always do a gratitude list? Like, do you got any tactics?
There's a lot of different tactics that I use. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes honestly, sometimes and it. By the way, if you're kind of getting down on yourself or you're doing whatever, it's okay.
Mhm.
Number one, don't sit there and go, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. That just makes it worse. Sometimes it's okay to go, you know what? I'm having an off day, but I know who I am. I know who I am. And then you get up that next day and you just turn it around. You start, getting that mindset different. You put that in your past. You start moving the other direction. But sometimes, I mean, I did this today, and it wasn't necessarily because I was having self doubts, but I was sitting there doing some work today, and I don't know. I had something, there was some stuff happening that I wasn't like, I just shut everything down for a second. I took about 5 minutes and, some people might call it prayer. Some people might call it meditation. Some people might call it putting energy in the world. But I just sat there and I just started giving gratitude. I started thinking through all the wonderful things, and I started sending energy to people that I love. It's like, number one, I said, and this might sound a little silly, I don't know, but I just, I sat there and said, hey, please help me be a stronger man today. Hey, please help me take in better information today. And then I started sending gratitude and positive energy out to my wife. Help my wife today be the best person that she can be. And what I mean, it's just like, it's just taking and mentally taking a breath if you need to and saying, okay, this is all right. It is okay. You are okay. And then start driving again and going, and don't take yourself so damn seriously. I mean, so many people get up and we have all these goals and we have all these dreams. We have all these things that we want to do. And that's great. Have those. I love those. I've got them. But at the same time, sometimes they might feel like a million miles away, or sometimes they might feel like you're not getting to where you want to get to. It'll all come in time, but enjoy this very moment instead of enjoying what might happen moments down the road. Because so many people get caught up in not thinking about what's happening right now. And that's when they start getting down. Maybe I don't deserve this. Maybe I don't deserve that nice house. Maybe I don't deserve that nice car. Maybe I'm not going to get that husband or wife that I wanted. Maybe the universe has a plan for you. And I'm not somebody who's going to say, oh, put this in the universe, it's going to automatically come. You still got to do the work, right? But it's so open for everything that you could possibly imagine. But you have got to get it straight here and know that you deserve it. Everybody deserves it. And the unfortunate thing is there's so many people in the world who don't think they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes this is another thing I could easily slide in. Tribe builders here is because when you have tribes around you, like when I have really tough days, I'm typically relying on other people. Like, because sometimes your head it goes like it runs rampant with stupid things or like silly things or untrue things, or we tell ourselves all these things. We're all making things up anyways. Like every perception you have is made up unless someone tells you this is actually what happened or this is what I was thinking when I was looking at you. You don't have that. So we're making it up anyways. So sometimes when I get really deep into the making up phase of like, hey, can you just tell me I'm not crazy, or tell me, yeah, maybe that's a little weird. I use my tribe. I literally call. I had a phone call today that I'm just like, hey, can you check my crazy? Can you make sure that this isn't like a really crazy idea? And, they say yes or no. And then some other people, I'll just say like, I'm just having a crappy day. And they tell me, they just give you a boost. So I think it's really fun to have people around you like that. And then other ways to like, I have gratitude lists as well, that it's like, okay, I'm having a weird day. Like, let's just think about all the great things that are happening so that I know it's not all bad. Like sometimes we just concentrate on the bad, which is just hopefully an
Well,
off
and we
day.
don't celebrate the good enough. And I mean, the thing is
No.
we're problem solvers, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs, that's how we're set up. We're set up to solve problems because we know
Yep.
we're going to have a slew of them throughout the day. So what are we always
Mm-hmm.
doing? We're always dealing with that negative, right? It's coming through that negative. We're dealing with it. We're dealing with it. And then we forget about the wins. We
Mm-hmm.
forget about those positives because we're working so much on trying to solve the problems. And
Mm-hmm.
so that gratitude that you're talking about is perfect because, number one, have the gratitude. But number two, when you get that win, celebrate it like none other,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it could be the littlest win. It could be the littlest thing.
Sometimes you
So
have to.
you have to because
That
I,
person
I
picked up their
guarantee you,
phone.
we blow up the problems and we minimize the wins, and we got it backwards.
Ah, we totally do. I've never
Yeah.
even thought about it that way. We do blow up problems, and then wins are just like, oh, yeah, I knocked that out. And then we just keep going without even thinking about it. Huh. That's an interesting thing. I'm going to have to tell some people about that. Like, hey, we need to celebrate our wins today.
Yes.
That's awesome. Okay, well, talking about wins, can you tell me what you feel like your biggest win is? It could be business, professional, or it can be family, like anything. Just what comes to mind.
Oh my. Again, I just come back to I've had so many blessings, and when you think about the stuff that we have done, I think the big wins though, for an example, I was at the Summit of Greatness event out in LA a couple of weeks ago, and I was in the audience. There's about 6,000 people there, which is great. So just a beautiful, great event of all this incredible energy. And I had no idea this was coming. But there was a gentleman up on stage who was speaking, and he put my book up on the screen and started talking about the outlier mindset. And
Fun.
it was incredible. But the win there, the thing that was incredible wasn't the fact that it was up there, but he told this story about how his son read the book and how his son came to him and said, "This has been a life-changing book to me, and it's the best book that I've ever read. And that to me, I swear, well, maybe I did cry, maybe a tear or two, but that's why you do what you do. That's why you write that book, to have that positive impact, to have that person
Yeah.
who says, this changed my life, right? We all have these
Yeah.
books that change our lives that we've read. And
Hmm.
to think about the books that impacted me, like Dr. Wayne Dyer, spoke about him earlier. He had a book called Your
Hmm.
Erroneous Zones that I had when I was a kid. Fell in love with it. I've probably read it 20 times over my life. But what if Wayne Dyer didn't write that book? What if he had that knowledge, that information that I needed in that moment, and he
And he
did
kept it to
not
himself.
write
Hmm.
the book? And so I always tell people, if you've got this in you, if you have something you need, and it doesn't have to be a book, it could be a video, it
Hmm.
could be put stuff in the world that people need to hear from you, because somebody needs to hear it. And in
Hmm.
that moment, to hear that story come full circle while sitting in that auditorium with my stuff up on stage with these people talking about how impactful, how it changed his son's life.
So cool.
That was, I just get choked up even thinking about it, because it's such a beautiful moment.
Yeah, and you didn't expect it, like, as in did they even know you were there?
They asked, they said, is Rodman in the crowd?
Oh
And I
my
was,
God.
because they figured I'd be there, because they know that that's one of Lewis's events, and I'm always
Uh-huh.
there supporting Lewis. And so, yeah, I stood up, and then he told the story, and I swear it was,
Oh yeah, I'd be a mess. Like I love when people tell us. Like I mean, it's funny. I send out a newsletter with my podcast every week, and I put on the bottom, "Tell us if you're listening,"
mm,
and like
yeah,
tell us like because we talk at a camera, we talk at my podcast or my into my microphone every single week, and it's so fun. But I have no idea if people are listening. Like people will text me things, likes on social media don't fucking matter. Like
no,
I don't know who's liking it. Cool. If 100 people like something, that's fantastic. If 5 people like something, also fantastic. But I'm not looking to see who likes it because that part doesn't matter. But those text messages and those messages or emails back or phone calls saying like, "Hey, this really resonated with me and this is why." I have a couple of super fans that I love because they're friends and they love to text me and tell me what's great about this week's show. And I just appreciate that because then I get to share it with people like you, Rodman, and to say like these things because you don't, I mean, you didn't write that book, like you're just happy you sold like 1 copy, 2 copies, 5 copies, 10 copies, hundreds of copies, thousands of copies, whatever it is. You're just happy that somebody's reading it and that hopefully it changes somebody. But then when you actually get the real like, this changed my life and this is why, that is like the most satisfying thing ever because somebody recognized you and you didn't even ask for it, so it's even cooler. They weren't even trying to like vamp you or anything. Oh my God, he's so great. They're just like, this book is fantastic and this is why.
it was
I
it
love it.
was a beautiful moment. And
Oh.
it's moments like those, though. I mean, that's the greatest things for me in life, right?
Mhm.
It's not so much the tangible things, the cars, the houses. I mean, we're blessed. I'm not gonna lie. We have a beautiful house. We live in a beautiful flower farm here, and
Mhm.
life is really, really good. I don't discount that a bit, but we
Mhm.
don't do it for those things.
Mhm.
Really being aligned and doing it for the right reasons is why we're able to have these wonderful things. And again, they're all going to be gone at the end of time. Nobody's going to remember. I mean, no. Tell me this. I mean, like, do you know what was your grandfather's first name?
My grandfather was Clarence.
What was your great grandfather's first name?
I never met him. I One of my other ones was Stan the Sauce.
So think about all these people that had to come
Mhm.
before you for you to
Mhm.
be sitting right here with me,
Mhm.
and even to our great grandfathers. One of the people who is responsible for you sitting here right now, we don't really even remember his first name,
Nope, totally
right?
don't. I couldn't tell you what he looked like. Couldn't tell you where he lived. Actually, that's a lie. One of them, I grew up in the family farmhouse, so that one I did
Mm,
know. But you're totally right that like anybody above that though, like my great grandparents, I knew most of them. I couldn't tell you anything above that. I don't know where they lived. I don't know what kinds of things they did. I don't know what kind of personalities they had. Where like you talking about the flower farm that you live on. I couldn't tell you if my grandpa's lived on a flower farm. I could tell you my great grandpa because he was born like My grandpa was born in the house that I grew up in. So I
Yeah.
knew that, but beyond that, nope. There's no legacy thing there that I would be able to tell you.
So
So
I would
it's
just tell you that time in the future is fleeting, and we've got
mhm,
right now, right? We've got right now to be who we are, put into the world everything that we can. But
mhm.
I asked my daughter the other day. I said, "Hey, what do you think about Marilyn Monroe?" They're like, "Who?" Okay, it's like they don't
Oh
know.
no, yeah.
It's
Uh-huh.
like you can be the most impactful person in the world right now, and in 100 years
Mhm,
they might not know your name, right?
mhm.
And there's the stupidest song. I mean, not stupid. I love the song, but there's a quote. You know who Macklemore is, right?
Of course.
And in the song Glorious, he says that we die twice. The
Mhm,
first time we basically physically die, and the
mhm.
second time is the last time that anybody will ever say your name,
Oh no. It's
right?
totally true. Yeah.
Totally
And it
true.
could it could be 10 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 100 years. Like how
So
many if you really think of the scheme of things though, how many people do we remember from the 1800s, the 1700s? Like it's very specific humans that somebody is spotlighted
yeah,
and we don't know all their names or what they did. So like we're
nope,
little specks in the whole scheme of
a
things.
blip like this, right? And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that to go, oh, geez, let's get down and
Mhm.
what's it all about or what's the purpose of life? I'm saying that to go, we've got today,
Yeah, live
you
your
know?
life.
We can be
Mhm.
awesome today. We can be doing great things today. We can be inspiring people. Or these problems, these things that we get caught up in. Is it
Mhm.
really that big of a deal?
Mhm.
In the grand scheme of things, when my mom passed on when she was 69, she died of cancer, right? And my mom had all her stresses in life. My parents were divorced. They used to argue and bicker all the time, and she had all her bills, and it was always a hard time for her to make ends meet. And she had a lot of problems. Incredible woman, by the way, just a beautiful soul. But she had all these things, and then when she died, none of that mattered. There wasn't an argument that mattered. There wasn't a money problem that mattered. There wasn't a scheduling issue that mattered. Nothing. I mean, death is like the great equalizer. And so we get worried about all this stuff. And I'm not trying to minimize the fact that we worry. I get
Mhm.
it. I do too. But at the same time, sometimes we got to take a step back and go, you know what, in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to
Not that
matter.
big of a deal. No, it's not that big of a deal. We want people to remember how they made us feel. Like, I'm not going to remember my mom and dad fighting. You're totally right. I'm going to remember the way my mom made me feel when I was sick, because I still think about that. When I'm sick to this day in my later 30s, when I'm sick, I still want my mom because she made me feel great when I was a kid, and I still think like that today. And I couldn't tell you the last time she took care of me when I was sick, but that's the kind of stuff that we're going to remember. I'm not going to remember them two, banging cupboards or whatever,
Yeah.
yelling at each other.
Nope. Nope.
It's so interesting. I love that. I really like the perspective too. It's really awesome. Okay, I've got a question on my list that I like I'm curious about this for
Yeah.
you. What do you think your superpower is?
What is what is my superpower? Wow. Here's the thing. When it comes to superpowers, I mean, we've all got something that we're really good at, right?
Mhm,
I'm a big vision guy. Like I see things from a level up here all the time. It's easy
mhm,
for me. I love it. I can come in. The opposite of that's what's not my superpower is like doing the day-to-day tasks to make sure that that vision is getting executed on, right? But that's why you always
mhm,
get good people into your life that can really help you with those things that are not your superpower.
mhm.
But I love, for me, it's kind of like um, people get worried about being on a stage. I'm like, give me the mic and get off my stage, right? I
Yeah,
love
get out of
doing
my
that.
way.
Some people go, you're out of your mind. But that's okay too. I mean, we've all got these different things that we love and that we're good at in life. But when you find that superpower, double down on it, triple down on
Mhm,
it, go all in on it. And then that stuff that you're really not as good at, that's where your tribe. That's where you find the people that can really help you with the things that you're not good at
mhm,
to move you forward. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make if they think they can do it all because they can't. None of us can. So we got to look at our superpower and then find the people that we need around us to execute on their superpowers so we can all find greatness.
Yes. That's probably my favorite thing that I've learned today from you is like it's totally true is like you find the people that are already good at their superpower. Like it's okay if you don't like accounting. You just find somebody that loves accounting. That's all they want to do is accounting all day long. They love bookkeeping. Why wouldn't you just give them the bookkeeping? It's great.
Yeah, of course. It
I
sounds
love
so
that.
easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sounds easy. Uh, can you tell me, is there anything off the top of your head that that you made money from that you wouldn't have done that without a certain connection? So it's kind of like somebody in your tribe like connected you, like the way you connected the gentleman for the TV show or the podcast. Can you tell me about a time like that?
There's been a lot of times like that. I mean, if you think about all the businesses, and again, some of them I should have said no to along the way, right? But
Yeah.
all of the businesses came from an opportunity from a connection or an opportunity
Hmm.
from a person or somebody I knew, somebody I cared about. Um, I'm trying to think of some examples for you. I'll give you an example. So I had a gentleman that I knew out of Ohio who was a friend of mine, and we were producing a lot of TV. We were doing a lot of production, and he had a group who owned a national poker tour. And so he came to me and said, "Hey, this poker tour would really like to break into TV." And so he knew that it was a skill set that we had that we did that. We could help him with that, and he knew who I was as an entrepreneur, so I could probably help. Went into that, started helping with his poker tour. Then I became the CFO of the poker tour, took an ownership stake at the poker tour. We eventually got acquired by the World Poker Tour. So we had our whole company purchased. So it was a journey, but it was one of those things that was not aligned with me, right? But it came from a
Yeah.
connection. And I would
Hmm.
say that every single business that I've ever had has been because I've been connected with somebody for something,
Hmm.
right? Again, it comes back to being selective though and going, is this aligned? Does
Hmm.
this meet my
Does this
objectives
feel
and my
good?
goals and my love and my superpower? Is this going to fill
Mhm.
me up inside, or is this something I should say no to?
Oh, it's
I think
awesome.
that's the big question.
Uh, What are the two? Now I'm really curious. What are the two companies you just like? You said you really only liked two of the 14. What are the two companies you really liked that you kept?
I still have them. So,
Yes,
yeah.
perfect.
I've got, I've got EvolveX Studios, which we do a lot of our stuff. We do our television show. That's where we do a lot of our teaching, our podcasting, a
Mhm.
lot of our social media stuff where we're putting into the world. EvolveX Studios. Oh, it also handles my mastermind, my vacation property secrets. It handles my books. It's the it's the teaching side. It's the,
Okay.
the place where I go to produce to teach, where I can
Hmm.
help people and lift them up and teach them. So that stayed into my life. The other thing is the investment side.
Okay.
So all my investment things that I've done, and I've invested my entire life. I love doing it. That stayed. But I had I had that rich dad poor dad mentality. I don't know if you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, but
Of
Rich
course.
Dad Poor Dad says buy cash flows, buy cash flows, buy cash flows, right? Get out
Hmm.
of the quadrant, get out of the rat race, buy cash flows, passive income, passive income. I'm going to tell you something. When you're an entrepreneur, no such thing as passive income. If you think you're just going to start a business and you're going to sit back, put somebody in
Walk
place,
away.
and it's like, hey,
Nope.
get my wheelbarrow over here so I can get that wheelbarrow of money over to the bank, you're
Hmm.
wrong. There's no
Hmm.
such thing. So that mentality. Now, by the way, I'm not saying that his philosophies are all bad because it's true. A lot of them are. But when people read and think they're going to get this passive income structure where they are not going to do anything and take wheelbarrows of money to the bank, it's just wrong, right?
Hmm. You have to
So,
work for it.
we went out and, I had a national pizza chain. So we had the state rights to Colorado for a pizza chain called Marco's Pizza. I don't know if there's any Marco's Pizzas up your way, but when they
Oh.
first opened that up, we took on that chain. We had about 13 of them. We sponsored the Avalanche hockey team. We sponsored the basketball team, which is the Nuggets, of course, the Rockies out here. We were doing all this stuff, but you know what? It was so painful for me because it wasn't aligned with who I was.
Yep. It's just another thing.
It's another thing.
Uh-huh. I love that because It's totally true. Like whenever I chase something, I can tell. I'm like, "Oh no, what did I do? What did I get myself into? This is terrible." But it's just like also recognizing it's okay. Like I used to have to get permission when I wanted to quit something. I'd have to like talk to people to get permission to be like, "Is this okay? Like I already put in all this effort though." And sometimes like you just need somebody to give you permission. It's okay not to do that thing.
Well, and think about it
uh,
as your time. You're
mhm,
taking your time back and putting it over here into something you love.
mhm,
Do I want to put time into something that's okay and I'm not really excited about, or do I want to
mhm.
try to retake that time back for myself and put it into the things that I love doing? And once something starts eating away, I mean, time is not a renewable resource,
Nope,
right?
it's gone,
When
it's
it's
gone.
gone, it's gone. And
Mhm,
so when you're putting into something that doesn't align with you or that you're not enjoying or that you don't want to be doing, that's when you got to make the change, start taking that time back and then putting it into the things that you love because you're never going to get that back.
mhm.
I would love to go that web I had to unweave that took me 5 years. I'd love to have that 5 years back.
Uh-huh.
And the
I
time
bet.
I put into building those things before that, that other 5 to 10 years, I'd love to have that
Mhm,
time back.
mhm.
I'd love to be
Uh,
putting it into the things I love. But once it's gone,
yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah, but those were all really good lessons that now, like, that's the reason that you have so much to talk about in books, in your in your group, in your like podcast, like all of that whole entire thing is like you had to get you dropped on your butt a little bit over here so that you could now say, guys, you don't have to concentrate on that. You can actually just love the things you do and just work on those. And I love that you know that now. So I'm appreciative being a person that's only 7 years in versus 15 to 20 years in, or however long you've been an entrepreneur. It could be very well longer. But I appreciate people like you because you can give me best practices or you can tell me, hey, why don't you shorten the curve? So even though like you had to have those misses, I appreciate that they happened to you so I could learn from them.
Well, and you've got plenty of things that you are going to
Oh
be putting
yeah.
into the world, right? I mean, you'll take those lessons and
Hmm.
then you're
I
going
do
to
all the
start
time.
saying, I'm going to serve that person that I once was that needs to hear this from me. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is so many people that is a total disservice to people
Hmm.
when they've gone through these experiences and they're not willing to help that next person. They're not willing to serve that next person that needs to hear from them, that needs to hear what they have, that needs to hear about their lessons so that they can save them from maybe the pain or maybe the time lost or maybe whatever it might be to really help them get through their struggle. We're
Hmm.
all unique. We all have our struggles. We all have our problems. We all have the things that we've worked through. We've all got
Hmm.
the traumas. We've got all these things in our life. But the biggest
Hmm.
tragedy is when we don't take the time to go, okay, this is what I've learned from this. I'm going to go make sure that this person doesn't have to suffer, or I'm going to try to make it easier on their journey.
Yeah. That's fantastic. This is what I learned from this. That's like a big, huge thing of just thinking like anybody that's listening, and if you have social media, think of one thing that you learned from something when just didn't succeed. Like I don't like to say the word failure because I think like everything's a great experience. Like I don't consider it failure. It's literally just new gained experience. Nobody gets to take away that experience that I just had, good or bad. So even thinking about if somebody's listening, go and do a post about what did you learn that, someone else could be saved from. I feel like that would be a really fun thing to
100%. And
read
you
about.
will always fail, but you don't have to be a failure.
Yeah.
You'll
Hmm.
always fail, but you don't have to be a
Hmm.
failure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all on how you take that failing. I fail all the
Hmm.
time. And I
Hmm.
always tell people that I'm going to succeed because I'm willing to fail more than you're ever willing to even try.
Yeah. That's that's a good thing to go out on. Because that's perfect. Okay, before we wrap up, tell me, is there anything that you need right now? Who are you looking for to talk to? Are you looking for any houses? Any connections?
No, if somebody's looking to learn about buying vacation properties, check me out. Come find me at Go. You can find me at Go Rodman. That'll get you over to my vacation property secrets. That's a
Hmm.
great book. But if you get a chance to read my book, or if you get a chance to go see some of my social media, if you want to connect, just connect with me. The
Okay.
greatest thing that I get is just talking with people and hearing about
Hmm.
their journeys and hearing how I can lift people up and just kind of help people be better. I mean, like
Hmm.
that's what it's all about is how can I help people do those kind of things. So those are my only asks.
Awesome.
If you read my
Cool.
book, let me know about it. I want to hear what kind of results, what kind of things that you had happen in your life, what kind of changes you made. I'd love to hear about those kind of things.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for spending the time with me. You can find Rodman on social media, gorodman.com. So it's RODMAN. Sorry. I'll put it in the show notes as well. And yeah, thank you for spending the time with me. You're awesome. I really appreciate it. And I can't wait to see what random things happen over the next few years with our connection, even.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. All right. I think it needs a couple, I don't know, probably only a few more seconds to do
That's
this.
fun.
Yeah, it was. Can we take a